So thanks again for the kind introduction, and also I'm very grateful for the opportunity to talk today and for the Rumi Forum that invited me here, as well as yesterday at the Catholic University. And the topic today will be theological rationalism in medieval world Islam. Thanks. Rationalism has been a salient feature of Muslim theological thought from the earliest times. The disputed issue of authenticity notwithstanding, the small corpus of texts is extant in which doctrinal issues such as free will versus determination are dealt with in a dilemmatic dialogue pattern. The display of the dialectical technique in these texts testifies to the use of reason in the formulation of and argumentation for doctrinal issues from a very early period onwards. Despite the fact that rationalism had its opponents throughout Islamic history, it continued to be one of the mainstays of Muslim theological thought, and it is only in the wake of modern Islamic fundamentalism that rationalism has become marginalized and threatened as never before. The Mu'tazila was the earliest school of rational Islamic theology known as Kalam, and one of the most important influential currents of Islamic thought. Mu'tazilites stressed the primacy of reason and free will, and developed an epistemology, ontology, and psychology which provided a basis for explaining the nature of the world, God, man, and the phenomena of religion, such as revelation and divine law. In their ethics, Mu'tazilites maintained that good and evil can be known solely through human reason. With their characteristic epistemology, they were also largely responsible for the development of a highly sophisticated discipline of legal methodology. The Mu'tazila had its beginning in the 8th century, and its classical period of development was from the latter part of the 9th until the middle of the 11th century Common Era. While it briefly enjoyed the status of an official theology under the Abbasid caliphs in the 9th century, the movement had coalesced into two main schools by the turn of the 10th century, the school of Baghdad and that of Basra. The dominant figures of the Basran school were Abu Ali al-Jubai, who died 916, and his son Abu Hashim, 933. The followers of Abu Hashim formed an important sub-school known as the Bakhshamiyya. Of the various members of the school, one can mention the following: Abu Hashim's disciple, Abu Ali ibn Khalad, Abu Abdullah al-Basri, and Abu Ishaq ibn Ayyash, who were students of Ibn Khalad. The chief judge, Abdul Jabbar al-Hamadani, who died 1025, was the student of Abu Abdullah and Abu Ishaq, and a very prolific author. One of Abdul Jabbar's own students, Abu Hassan al-Basri, established what seems to have been the last creative school of thought among the Mu'tazila. The movement gradually fell out of favor in Sunni Islam and had largely disappeared by the 14th century. Its impact, however, continued to be felt in Shi'i Islam, where its influence subsisted throughout the centuries and can be seen even today. Moreover, modern research on the Mu'tazila from the beginning of the 20th century onwards gave rise to a renaissance of the Mu'tazilite notion of rationalism, finding its expression in the so-called Neo-Mu'tazila, the vague term designating various strands of contemporary Muslim thinkers who lean on the Mu'tazilite heritage to substantiate the significance of rationalism in modern Muslim discourse. Second in importance in the use of rationalism was the theological movement of the so-called Ash'ariyya, named after its eponymous founder, Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari, who died 935, a former student of the Mu'tazilite master Abu Ali al-Jubai. At the age of about 40, Ash'ari abandoned the teachings of Mu'tazilism and set out to formulate his own doctrinal system. Ash'ari and his followers claimed or aimed at formulating a via media between the two dominant opposing strands of the time, Mu'tazilism and traditionalist Islam, in the brand of Hanbalism. Methodologically, they applied rationalism in their theological thought and writings, as was characteristic for the Mu'tazila, while still maintaining the primacy of revelation over that of reason. Doctrinally, They upheld the notion of ethical subjectivism as against the ethical objectivism of Mu'tazilism, and they elaborated the notion of man's acquisition, kasb, of his acts as a way to mediate between the Mu'tazilite notion of free will and the traditionalist position of predestination. On this basis, they developed their own theological doctrines. As is characteristic for the development of Islamic thought, theological thought, Ash'ari adopted various concepts into his doctrinal system that had been formulated by earlier thinkers. For example, the first to attempt to combine the rational methodology of the Mu'tazilites with the doctrinal positions of the traditionalists had in fact been Ibn Kullab, who died possibly 855, and the notion of man's acquisition of his acts had first been formulated by Dirar ibn Amr. However, due to the subsequent success of the Ash'ari as a theological school, these earlier predecessors soon sank into oblivion. By the end of the 10th century, Ash'arism had established itself as one of the prevalent theological movements in the central lands of Islam, mainly thanks to the prominent theologian and Maliki judge Abu Bakr al-Baqillani, who enjoyed the patronage of the Buyid vizier as-Sahib ibn Abad, as had been the case with his Mu'tazilite contemporary Abd Jabbar al-Hamadani. Moreover, it was through al-Baqillani's students Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn al-Hasan ibn Furak and Abu Ishaq al-Isfaraini, who both taught in Rai and Nishapur, that Ash'arism soon also spread into Persia, where some of the most prominent Ash'arite theologians of the following generations emerged. Thanks to the spread of the Malikite school of law in North Africa, Baqillani's theological writings became also popular in this region, and it is here that fragments of his opus magnum, Kitab Hidayat al-Mustarshidin, have been preserved in manuscript. Ash'arism reached a further peak during the early Seljuk period when it enjoyed the official support of the Vizier Nizam al-Mulk, who died 1099, and became a central component within the curriculum of the Nizamiya network of educational institutions. The main Ash'arite theologians of the time were Abu Bakr Ahmad ibn Muhammad al-Furaqi and the famous Imam al-Haramain Abu al-Ma'ali al-Juwayni. As was the case with Abu Hussein al-Basri among the Mu'tazilis, Juwayni was the first to integrate philosophical methods and notions into Ash'arite kalam, and there is in fact ample evidence that Juwayni had intensively studied and was deeply influenced by Abu Hussein's writings. With Juwayni, the early phase of Ash'arism comes to an end, and the next phase